should say. Um, so, good morning, everyone. I am still using two different computers, one for YouTube and one for Facebook here. And I meant to have this all set up, but I ran into a hiccup yesterday, a couple of hiccups, and still in recovery mode from that. Um, I don't know exactly how I'm feeling about that, but um, let's talk it out. I'm one of those people who I'm a big proponent of confession and talking and um, working through issues such as this. And so, for me, yes, this idea of let's talk it out works. Um, I often, ugh, so let me say for the record, that I do want to make sure that this other software is working correctly so that I can broadcast both at the same time and not have like divided camera attention or whatever. And to that end, I will be working on this, God willing, today, and to see if I can't get both, all my stuff together. So I hope you had an amazing Tuesday. Mine's was a bit rough, and as you could tell just by my disposition this morning. And so I am working to come present in all of this. But if I'm explaining to you why I was unable to get this work done yesterday, then it causes me to be reflective. And that, so let me just get this off of me. And I thank you. I thank you guys for the power that this allows me. I am one that always talks about, I like to at least say that I know that there is a power to confession. And whether you know it or not, most people, we talk about it in terms of a, imperative, like some kind of religious imperative, where people used to go and sit down and say, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." I'm not asking for forgiveness or anything else like that, but I know that when I talk things through, it works so much better for me. And it's almost like when you get things out, you have people that share with you in whatever you're dealing with. So it's no longer like I'm just carrying it by myself, but I have somebody else to carry it with me. And so I hate that I do this, but I know that now I've put that out there. You guys are probably, maybe not, maybe curious. And so yesterday I had a very interesting day. I had a very interesting day. I went from, I will say that I want to say that I lost a client, kind of. That's kind of one of those things that I'm still trying to figure out. It is like a remaneuvering, and that's one thing. And then the other thing is I finally went to walk my dogs kind of late, relatively late for me. I was waiting for the temperature to go up because I knew the sun wasn't going to change its disposition of being missing MIA yesterday because it was just a cloudy day. And so I walked my dogs rather late. I think I walked them maybe just about 3:15. And yeah, so I walk out of the house at about 3:15. And many of you know I stay in what I call the hood still, and have had a value in that. And and not only do I have a value in that, I also own my home, which is here. And so I walked out of my house to walk my dogs, got them on the leash, and they love to go for their walks, of course. And so I walked, and about when I get to a certain point, my phone rings, and so I answer my phone that's in my ear. And so I'm walking kind of oblivious to what is usually when I'm walking. I'm somewhat relaxed, somewhat oblivious to what's going on around me, but always on alert for, like, say for instance, other dogs or people that may be around as I'm walking my dogs, because um, every once in a while they can get beside themselves. Like, who do you think you are walking this close to the woman we love, so to speak? So, and they're little dogs. So it's not like they're a threat, but I'm always alert to that. But, very much into myself. So I walked my usual route, and as I turned the corner, I was not looking before I turned the corner, and I was on the phone, so I'm really not listening for, I don't know, unusual sounds or whatever. But I did notice that I didn't see any of the kids from the high school. And I remember absent-mindedly thinking, where is everybody at this time of day? Because usually when I come out at this time of day, I have many more, I see many more people, but I wasn't really seeing what I thought I should. So, kind of aware, kind of not. And so, as I turned the corner, I was surprised to see so many police cars, an ambulance, a fire truck. It was as if they had the entire west end of the street blocked off, and I was rather surprised. But I was not going to turn around and go back home. I just thought, well, as I get closer, maybe I will cross the street. Maybe it's an accident. I wasn't sure. But the closer I got, the more aware that I got of the scene and it being a little bit unusual. And so, unusual in the sense of, the way that the street was blocked off. And so I kept walking and kept talking, and my dogs were, just in their good place, but still not seeing the foot traffic that I thought I should. Um, and as I drew closer to the area, I saw that there was a police officer waving people to turn around and go in another direction. And as I looked at him for clarity on what's going on, like, what's happening, I just kind of gave that what's happening look. And without saying a word, he kind of nodded, and I saw a young man laying on the sidewalk. And by that time, he was covered with a sheet, a white sheet. And I will tell you, I was like, I felt like I was turning in circles, like, what the heck? What the heck? It was just, um, yeah, it was traumatic for me. And the first thing I thought about was, oh my God, this baby, where's his parents? And and I thought, oh my gosh, they, and then as that dawned on me, then I started to realize that, that there were kids that were in, whether they were across the street or in, pushed back to the edges or whatever. I noticed the kids. I noticed the ones that were, because now I turned into the parking lot of the school, and as I listened, there was chatter, people sitting in their cars, talking about it's broad daylight and somebody just walked up, and the kids were talking about, the sound of the shots. And I was right there and didn't even, didn't see all of that. It was, so it was rather traumatic. So I had a hard time yesterday, as well as, and then I, finally, at about, as the day wore on or progressed, it was, you could still hear, helicopters flying overhead. I could hear all kinds of sounds, even as I sat in my house. And so after a while, I was just so jarred by what had happened. I was really looking for a way to get from under the oppressive weight of the grief that I felt. And I guess there is a number of ways that you can deal with that. You can either, you know, put a pillow over your head and try to drown out the sounds, the sights, the ideas, all of that. Or you could do like I chose to do, and after a while, I thought, oh my God, there's a yoga class tonight, and I went to yoga, and at first, when I first went into the room, I was feeling the weight still of that, and then I just kind of got into what yoga is all about: being present on your mat and leaving it on your mat, not being consumed with what anybody else is doing, feeling, thinking, just your body, what you have in your body, what you're holding in your body. And so that was my way of processing what it was that I went through. And I can't imagine for the young people who were there, proximate to it. I can't imagine what they must be feeling or thinking or anything else like that, because it was such a traumatic sight. So so now, having shared that, I last night was able to take the body of that, and set it to the side, which is what I am going to do now, because I have this to do. This is before me to do, and I am so honored to be here and to be able to do this today. So, greetings, happy hump day, happy Wednesday to you. I'm excited to get started and see exactly what comes through me today and what I'm prompted to. Um, As a matter of fact, I just saw a book in my mind, and I will see if it is here on my desk. If not, then I will move on to something else. But I just saw a book in my consciousness. So let's see what we do. Let's see how we pull this out for today. I tell you, sometimes I excitedly anticipate seeing what it is that God sends through me on a given day. Where is that little book? It's interesting that it is not right here present within arm reach. But let's see what I am able to pull out. That is interesting. Wonder where that is. Give me that is really interesting. I don't see that book. Woosah, woosah, woosah. Yeah, these are some new spectacles, the new glasses that I got, and I don't know how I feel about them. But we shall see. We'll make them do what they do. They are big, aren't they? But they actually are comfortable, and it's really interesting when you order things online without having tried them on. I often ask myself, since I got these, would I have bought them had I tried them on first? Who knows? But I have them, and so we're going to, and they work really well. They work really well for me being able to see. And that's ultimately the reason why we wear glasses, isn't it? So that we can see. So here is, for today, for this Wednesday, here is the reading for today. You know, I'm reading from the Science of Mind book, have committed to reading from the Science of Mind daily guides. And these were written by Reverend Dr. Marilyn, her Dr. Leo. I'll just call her that because I can't remember what that middle one is. Okay, so God's ideas run rampant is the name of this. God's ideas run rampant. And so here is our first quote. One of the chief barriers to accepting God's generosity is our limited notion of what we are in fact able to accomplish. And that's from Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. I love The Artist's Way. It is such a wonderful book. If you are a what she calls an artist that is blocked, it is a beautiful book in how to unblock yourself. From Ernest Holmes' 365 Science of Mind, the quote she uses is, since God is all there is, the only presence, the only power, and the only mind or intelligence, when we conceive a new idea, we are thinking directly from the creativity of God. Good. All right, and so here's what she wrote. We are the instruments through which God's creativity takes place. Just yesterday, my daughter was fixing a plugged sink for me. She disconnected a couple of parts and cleaned out the accumulated hair that is the usual culprit. When she tried to put things back together, she didn't have the tools to hold one part in place to fit the other. So she left it for the time being. Sure enough, a few minutes later, she came up with an idea to hold one part with thread while placing the other part in its place. Creativity is not all about writing or painting or creating music. It is about ideas. The creativity of mind is magnificent. Just letting go or stepping back allows ideas to form and knock on the door of our thoughts. Be ready to hear the knock and open the door of your imagination. As we avail our thoughts, our imagination to be still and listen, many ideas come forth. Perhaps some may seem to have no relevance to our immediate circumstances, but keep an open mind. Listen to the words that come to you. Listen to the ideas. If there appears to be nothing coming to you at the moment, you may be best served by letting it go. Often while we are doing some chore, an idea comes forth. Very often, a completely different idea may wake you during the night or the first thing in the morning. Just allow yourself to be open to ideas of every kind. One day, one or more may be useful to you. Keeping a journal is a wonderful way to remember these useful and seemingly useless ideas. You never know. And so the affirmation that goes with this is, today I listen with an open mind and heart for Spirit's response to my needs. Amen on that. That was so true. I often talk about how ideas and things like that dawn on me, and I love that. So, and not just in the afterthought, but in the immediacy of now. As a matter of fact, that is how I manage to do this every single day without ever writing down a note or thinking anything about it. It is, I sit down and I trust and know that Spirit is going to show up. So I don't have to try to effort towards this, right? I don't have to think about all of these things as they bombard my consciousness. Now, having said that, I am still like turning over stuff looking for this little book, because the moment I said, let's see what Spirit is going to do, I saw this book in my mind. And when I see a book, it's like I know that it has something for me. And so I am just kind of like moving things around on my desk because it was just here. It was here, and I'm not sure if I picked it up and moved it to some other place. But I can't imagine that it would be very far. So let me, I am not seeing this book. I am not seeing this book, and I am not getting up from my chair. So I am thankful that if this book is here, it is. Haha. It is. Here we are. Just amazingly wonderful. How blessed I truly am. So let me see what this has for me. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to I'm not even going to try to figure out what it is that I'm opening to, but I'm trusting as I open this book, whatever is divinely right for me to talk about today is going to be right here. There is something else called the I Ching that this works really well with. The I Ching is one of those things where you sometimes throw, you know how people used to throw bones. They would throw things and then see what comes up, and then they would turn to the I Ching and see what it was that it had for it. And and so I'm aware that 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 is a thing. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll open up A Course in Miracles to a page and then read what I've highlighted on a particular page. Sometimes it is beyond the highlights. I love when you think about there was going along with what I talked about, I think probably yesterday and last week, this idea about how blessed I have been because of cartoon strips. And I've shared, Calvin and Hobbes and some other cartoons. There was another cartoon that somebody shared with me that was so wonderful and still feeds me today. In this cartoon, there's these, you know how cartoons are, they come in these little frames. And in each of the frames, there is this character. So there's this woman who goes and journeys to India. And so she goes to see a guru. And so she goes and she sits before this guru, as many people do. As a matter of fact, Mark Wolin, when we shared, did his book, It Didn't Start With You, talks about how he was having problems with his eyes. As a matter of fact, he was going blind, and he wanted to know what the cause of it was. And so he talked about all the things that he did looking for this cause. But he went to some other country, some far country, to sit before a guru. And this guru told him to go home. And he's like, I came all of this way. What do you mean go home? And he said that basically the problem that he was having with his sight or his vision was at home. Go home and make peace with your parents. As a matter of fact, he went back to see this person a couple of times because he was like so incensed that he had put forth all of this effort, traveled all this way just to be told that the answer to his problems were at home. So in this particular cartoon strip, this woman had made this sojourn as well. She had gone to India to meet with a guru. And when she goes to meet with this guru, she says to this guru, like, help me. She was like, I am looking for, and a lot of people come on this stage in their life at a later stage in their life. And she was like, I'm trying to find the answers. I'm trying to find the solutions, the enlightenment. Just, I need, some direction. And the guru in this thing, so you see the little first frame where she's asking for help. The next frame, the guru is telling her, like, it is that way. And so she goes and it shows her going off and she goes that way. Well, next frame, here she is back in front of the guru looking like she had been in a car accident or something. Hair disheveled, shoe off, holding her stuff. And she was like, yeah, I went that way. It's not that way. And then he says, yes, that way. And so, she goes back and, she goes that way. And then there's this big splat. It just looks like a big ink splat right there on the thing. And then that's when she shows up in the next frame all disheveled and looking like, her hair all frazzled and all of that stuff. And so she was like, yeah, I went that way. It's not that way. And he says, no, it is that way. And so she, next frame, splat again. And now when she comes back, she's bandaged, right? She's got bandages on her and, again, looking all disheveled and like she had been through hell and back. And she's like, yeah, I'm trying to tell you, like, I went that way twice now. It's not that way. And so the guru looks at her and he says, yes, it is that way. And she's like looking at him like she mad because she done went all of this way. And he's like, yes, it is that way. And she was like, no. And she was like, it's not that way. And he says, yes, but it is beyond splat. Right? It is beyond splat. So sometimes we go looking for the answer, but we only go up until the discomfort happens. and not always aware that there is another side beyond the discomfort, beyond what it was that, that caused us to, to have that splat moment. It's beyond that. So a lot of times what we do is we're thinking that, that somehow it's supposed to be an easy answer or an easy fix, when in fact it is not. When in fact it is, not just what happens to us as a result of our seeking, but then the sense that we make of it afterwards. Sometimes we've got to sit in the discomfort for a while before the awareness of a situation dawns upon us. So for me, I recognize that there is a alchemical process that happens when I allow myself to go through the experience, to have the experience, and then what then comes as a reflective moment afterwards. So if it's, the like me going to yoga and processing that, through the movements of my body, through coming present in those moments. I felt as I, when the instructor said, and now we're coming into the first downward dog of our practice, there was a, this, I'm as I go down and I'm holding that position, I'm also feeling all of the stuff that that I was holding on to crawling off of me in that moment. Her whole practice yesterday was about this peeling off the layers that we sometimes get accumulated onto us. And so I don't know exactly what somebody else's layers are. For me, what I ran into was a heavy, heavy moment. Oh, it was really heavy for me, and it took me back to my cousin and the experience that she had. And as I was sitting in that, I was just like, okay, whether I knew this child or not, it didn't make it any less traumatic. It was excruciating. And the journey beyond that, right? The journey on the other side of that, beyond splat, is just heart-wrenching. So yeah, I'm heartened by these moments of insight or clarity or whatever it is that comes up for me, and hopefully what comes up for you too. So when I opened this book, and in full disclosure, this is a book that I purchased from my mother some 30 some years ago, and it's called The Mythic Tarot. Like a tarot card deck. And a lot of times I just visit this book because it was, to read it cover to cover and to visit with the stories. The stories are so poignant. And I'm going to offer a class called I want to call it The Power of Story, but that's the name of a book. I don't know that I'm going to call it The Power of Story, but it is a class on just stories, right? And how stories inform us. So I'll be rolling that out and talking about that as time in the next couple of weeks. But I opened up to a card. The card is, or the idea is judgment. Judgment is the idea. And one of the things that they do so well in these cards is to talk about the story that brought forth the card. And so you it's so amazing to me, how it will not only have a picture with it, but a story behind it. And since I'm not that familiar with this particular story, I'm going to pick out parts of it to share with you, and then let's see where that leads, from there. Um, so in this particular card, it is, one of the major cards, and it's about Hermes, and guide of souls is what it's called, what he is. And so in the card, in this particular card, it's the beginning of a journey of life, a trickster, a protector of lost travelers, a protector of lost travelers. Um, and so it talks about he is revealed as a powerful underworld deity, emissary of Hades, which is also what many people call hell, who summons the dying gently and eloquently to, by laying his staff on upon their eyes. Now, this is, remember, I'm just opening this up after seeing what I did see yesterday. Um, and so this is really an interesting, thing for me to open up to. Um, Hermes reassembled the pieces and restored the young man to life. Okay, so let me read this. It says, but um, it says, in myth, Tantalus, the king of Lydia, cut his own son into pieces and served them as a feast for the gods. You know, sometimes these things are so, otherworldly and amazing. It is just unbelievable. It says Hermes reassembled the pieces and restored the young man to life. As a herald of the heavenly gods, Hermes is also freed heroes such as, um, Thasos, who entered Hades realm illicitly and then got stuck there. He talks about all this stuff that he's done. It says here, on an inner level, Hermes, the sycophant, is the image of a process which occurs at a certain critical moment in life. A summing up then, is summing up when the experience of the past are gathered together and seen as part of an intelligent pattern, and the consequences of these experiences must be understood and accepted. The consequences of these experiences must be understood and accepted. The process of summing up is not an intellectual function, it says. Now, this is good, but rather a kind of cooking that occurs in the underworld of the unconscious. It is a call for the dead to rise, for the many and varied actions and decisions we perform to knit together and yield a harvest. Oh. The artist experiences this, process when, after many hours or weeks or even years of attempting to formulate, research, practice techniques, and give shape to an elusive idea or image, sometimes that last happens, a new creative work is born. The same process is seen in psychotherapy when an individual can struggle for many months with a disconnected memory and feeling of the past and the present stuck and blocked, and suddenly a kind of cohesion occurs and one's life patterns make sense at last. The process can occur in any realm of life when we tunnel blind as moles, pouring effort into something which somehow remains elusive, and at last the effort is rewarded and there is a synthesis and a new development at hand. That light at the end of the tunnel kind of feel. This is Hermes, and the most magical, revealed at last as the true Lord of the entirety of the fool's journey, knitting together through some mysterious process of intuition and experience and insights gained from each stage of the journey, and magically blend these to form the beginnings of a new and larger personality. Oh my gosh. What a revelation. You guys, sometimes I don't know if how you approach ideas or approach a particular work. But for me, good morning, Twyla. Good morning, good morning. When I approach a particular type of work, I want to know, well, what is this? What is this for me? Yesterday, when I saw what I saw, it took me back to another instance or another occurrence. The thought just came, and I instantly related all the times that I had been confronted with such an idea before. A lot of times we have these things that seem like they're desperate parts in our life that seem to have no relevance from one instance to another, and it doesn't seem to make sense. Oh my God, I'm so thankful though, because when we stay in trust, when we sit in faith, we know that even though we can't see the entire journey or the entirety of how things fit together, that they do, that there is a wonderful process of coming together, of bringing these things together. And finally, when we're nearing what seems like the abyss, things begin to come together and make sense in ways that we hadn't known before. I love that the way that happens, and that it's happened so many different times for me. There were times when I used to think to myself, this doesn't make sense, right? It didn't make sense that, I came up in what was, it is Cleveland Public Schools. I transferred out because, I went and they started busing. So I went into Shaker schools. I spent a year in Shaker only for them to kick me out and send me to Kennedy. I get to Kennedy and I'm in Kennedy and I'm not having the connections because I don't know the folks like I did, but that's where I graduate from. And then, to go through the process of that and wondering and questioning why here to there to then to that, and why are all these things happening? Why did they happen like that? Then when I get ready to go to college, I go to college and I major in philosophy. How does that tie into what I did there? How does that tie into the steno lab that I spent a year in? How does it tie into the people that I met, the experiences that I had, that feeling of being an outsider? What was I supposed to take from that? And what did that serve me? And so then when I'm in college and then I go over to Italy, I had that same feeling of being an outsider in a foreign place that I had when I was at Shaker, when I came back to Kennedy. And so the things, sometimes we have things that prepare us for certain instances. We don't know at the time that it's a preparatory stage for the next thing that is to come. All we know is where we are at the given moment. And so if we could look at everything and pick it up, and sometimes we look at it and think like, Why this? Why, how does this fit? Right? And rather than casting it aside, I might do something like, well, I don't know exactly how this is going to fit, but I know that this might be a necessary piece or a necessary part of my journey. So let me take that and then go keep moving forward and see how it's to fit. I see so many of us who want to throw things away as if, what green, what am I going to do with this? We throw things away. We throw people away, not realizing that they play a significant part in what is to come. Rather than just so, and we see this over and over again. I see it when people talk about, even with my mother telling me that, she didn't know her father. And she tells me, oh, and that man never did anything for me. And she just, whatever, she didn't have anything to do with him. Not realizing that he might be a necessary part, maybe not for her, but maybe for her children. Maybe there was some other role that connection, because regardless of whether or not we're paying attention to it, we're tied to it nonetheless. We are tied to it through destiny, through DNA. We're tied through it because his past echoes into our present, whether you know it or not. And we can't just take things and throw them aside as if they have no relevance. It is a part of the journey. And as we start to recognize that all of these things become a part of our journey, when I get there, it's like, ooh, this is good. Remember in, what was the Eddie Murphy movie when he was given the glass of water before he was supposed to go down into the thing? Was it The Golden Child? He was given the glass of water, and then he was supposed to go down there and, and get the knife, right? And so he goes down into the underworld. He goes through and he jumps on the thing. He gets there and he's looking at this glass of water like, what is this for? Right? Many times people will discard things without recognizing that it is a piece or a part that is necessary for the journey. And so when he talks about this thing, he's talking about that, what Eddie Murphy did in that movie. I don't know if you remember the movie or not. I love that movie. He was like, I want the knife. Please. And my family constantly jokes about that particular thing because we were just on that, like, I want the knife. That was hilarious. But it is what he did when he finally got there, his summing up of that is what do I do now that I'm here? Let me think about all the things that I've encountered. And then what he realized was, he needed to drink the water, right? And then when he cooled himself, right? Because it's not just, sometimes we could sit there and he could think, oh, maybe I'm supposed to take this water and douse the flame, or maybe I'm supposed to, what's the purpose of the water? Maybe the purpose is not for that, but it's for me. It's that inner thing that I'm doing for me. So this whole thing, when we start to trust, when you trust that the universe is working on your behalf, that it is for you, not against you, that there is, I love out of, there are certain things that stick in when we are talking about New Thought, that just kind of stick, that says that there is a power for good in this universe that you can use. It is working on your behalf and you can use it. and it's there for you. But most of the time, we don't ever access, or we don't ever trust it, or we don't ever like just give in to that. Just like Dr. Leah was saying in the reading, she was like this, allowing yourself the space or the moment to allow an idea to dawn on you. What am I supposed to do here? We're so used to the commercials or the movies where things happen in these little bitty instances, and we think that if it doesn't come immediate, that it's not going to happen. But maybe that's part of the process. Maybe the process is learning that about the value of time and space. I talked on Sunday about this idea of the ebb and the flow. That the relaxing is as much a part as the pushing or the efforting is. The ebb is just as important as the flow. And unless we recognize that all of it works together, we'll think that, oh, it's not here. I'm supposed to do this on my own. It amazes me that there are so many people in this world, and I know folks who everything has got to be immediate. It's got to be right now. They never get to the point where they just say, oh, okay, let's ride this out. Let's see what happens. No, it is that it's got to be done right now. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. And that do it now, well, it may feel like you got so much accomplished. Imagine if we just relaxed and breathed into a space and summoned to us all of the possibilities. Like sometimes for me, what I do is there's these things that don't seem like they're connected. But for me, part of even doing this, part of this journey was saying, yeah, I got a lot of teaching when it comes down to religion and spirituality. But I also have a lot of teaching that when it comes down to philosophy and mythology. Could these things be connected? Could history have a part? Could science have a part? How is it that I have all of these loves and I'm acting as if I need to leave this part over here and only talk about this part when I'm at this stage? And so what I finally did is I started trying to see, how do all these things weave together to make one beautiful whole? And so if you take that, the mistakes you made don't have anything to do with your spiritual life, you're bereft. You're missing a huge part. Because those are our greatest teachers. The things that we go through, that we grow through, those things teach us. They grow us. And so we've got to be willing to figure out, how do we incorporate all of this together? So let me go back to this card of judgment, because it just is beautiful how this is working together. It says, thus the figure of Hermes leading the dead souls to judgment embodies a process of birth. It is the birth of a more complete personality that arises in a non-rational way from the combined experiences of the past. Isn't that beautiful? Fused by insight and a sense that apparently random events and choices are really secretly connected. Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing and beautiful? Seemingly disconnected things are really connected. It's all a part of something. And so had that not happened to you, and that's one of the things that people learn through dis-ease too. You know, I can't tell you the numbers of people who talk about cancer or talk about illness or a setback or getting fired from a job as a as something that happened that cast them into a whole new life. A lot of times we think we know how things are supposed to happen or how they're supposed to turn out. But when we just allow them to unfold, it seems rough at the time, right? It seems like we're going through the splat moment at the time. But on the other side of that is the blessing. On the other side of that, you get what it is that you are supposed to have. I'm in a stage now where, yeah, it seems like I'm in the midst of a splat, right? Oh my God, how do I lose a perspective or a client? It's like you lose something even before you get it, but it was something that you were counting on. It's something that, they talk about don't put your eggs all in one basket, but you were counting on that particular basket for whatever it was supposed to yield. And then to lose that, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what the heck? And maybe it is, maybe this is just what needed to happen in order for something else to open up or to occur. Sometimes we don't look at it like that. Many times we look at, oh man, that was messed up, without recognizing that maybe, just maybe, that means that I need to step up in another area. Maybe it is about something more than what I might have perceived it to be beforehand. But now, all of a sudden, I recognize that it was a integral part of what needed to happen for me to move through this process in a quicker fashion. So, the judge of the dead decides what future has been earned from past efforts. And it is on the efforts of the past cards that the fool's future is built. It's on the efforts that you made in past things that your future is built. It is on your efforting. Ooh, that's good, y'all. I don't know if y'all are feeling that, but that to me is just, is so good. A lot of times we get caught up because it's not happening fast enough. Instant society is not happening fast enough. But man, if you've been efforting towards something, that, people say, and then suddenly. No, it's not suddenly. It's about you've been efforting for years. We've been going through stuff for years. And then one day, finally, what seems like to some suddenly, but finally that begins to pay off. So the card of judgment symbolizes the reward of the efforts made, although the judgment is inside us, not outside, not in the outside world. We pay also for our sins of unconsciousness and reap the harvest of refusing to take up responsibility for our own choices at each stage of the journey. Woo! Now, I don't know who that is for, but that is, let me just, because somebody is going to say, even me, right? We might say, that ain't mine, right? But here, let me read this again. Because it says the card of judgment symbolizes the rewards for efforts made. Although the judge is still inside of us, not outside in the world. So it's not what other people think. It's not what other people are saying. It's what I am thinking. What I am thinking about myself. What you are thinking about yourself. And those judgments, even though, like, say for instance, it may not always be present at mind, like it may not always be in your face, but it is there nonetheless. So yesterday, let me give you for an example. So yesterday when I saw that child, I felt like, even though I know I didn't do it because this would have caused difficulty with me having two dogs on a leash, but I felt like I started to spin. I started to spin, and I was like thinking to myself, like, holy crap, what do I do? Do I turn around and walk the same way that I came? Do I go over and try to, do I go over where the kids are? Do I talk to people? Do I stand around and see what happens? Do I walk a different way? I was like spinning. I was spinning for a minute. I'm spinning. What do I do? And then after I started, like the spin started slowing down, I saw a path, and it was like, okay, I'm going to walk this way. And I walked away from the people that were standing around. I walked away from them, and I started walking in a different direction. And my dogs are still pulling me every which way, but I'm like, I got to go home is what I was thinking. I got to go home. And as I was walking past people, I heard kids out there talking to one another, and I was right there, and it was like I heard the pop, pop. It was, I didn't even know until, and I'm hearing this, and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, I gotta go. There was, I felt guilt. I felt guilt in myself because I thought to myself, those kids out there talking, I should have gone over, and I should have, at least hugged or touched, because, nobody is touching each other. They're just talking, and the power of an embrace, or the power of a hug, and, or somebody just present to stand there and bear witness to what they were going through is a powerful thing. And instead of me figuring out, Minister Sandra, studying all of this stuff, I was in such a spin, in a tailspin. All I could think to do is, I need to go home. I need to go home. I need to go home. And that's what I did. And I came home, and I sat here, and I trying to collect myself and get myself back together and all of this stuff. And then the helicopters started flying overhead, and the noise of the outside that's just telling me, there is calling out to me. So there's a judgment that I got in myself about, what I failed to do. What I failed to do in that moment. So the judgment is not because anybody knows that I ran home. My judgment is not about people were saying, doesn't Sandra live someplace close around here? Or didn't I see her walking down? The judgment is not about what other people thought about me. It's about what I think about me. It's about what I thought in the moment I could have done. What judgments are you holding in you about your actions, about how you show up? Whether it doesn't even have to be in the particular scenario that I said. Sometimes it's in, did I do enough to save my own marriage? Did I tell my child today that I love them? Did I show up in fullness at work? Did I support this person who stepped out on a ledge? We can ask ourselves the questions all day long about the part that we played. It's not about other people. It's about us. The judge lives inside of each and every one of us. And so he says, we pay also for our sins of unconsciousness. And reap the harvest of refusing to take up responsibility for our own choices at each stage of the journey. Ooh. Oof. That, y'all, that is So judgment is an image not just of new beginnings, but a beginning which emerges out of the past. So now confronted with this the next time, and so if I ever encounter this again, in this moment, if I bring my conscious awareness to what happened for me and the fallout from what happened to me, is Dr. Brown would say that now I get to make a decision about who I'm going to be from this point forward, because now I know something different. Now I know that not only did those kids need a hug in that moment, I needed one. That not only did everybody else need to figure out how to process, I need to figure out how to process. And when I talk about the power of community and connection, what I was doing was I was running. I was spinning out of control, and I ran home. Not because I felt my life was in jeopardy, not because I didn't feel, but because I just didn't know how to deal with what I was seeing. And it's not just about me. And so these types of things, it's a new beginning because I get to decide something new going forward from here. Oh, y'all. Oh my gosh, what a amazing revelation to have in the midst of this. So, this is so poignant for me, right? So in Eastern philosophy, it goes on to say, this is called karma. Woo! Each person sows the seed in his own field. You sow a seed in your own field and ultimately must reap the harvest which springs from his own sowing. Although Hermes, it says, is often portrayed as a cheat and as a liar, here as psychopomp, he does not permit the soul to lie. Everything must be accounted for, and the fool meets at last the consequences of all of his chaotic life. That is so good. That is so good. It's so good, y'all. The reward is the awareness itself. I mean, yeah, there's a reward that comes from the efforting, but from now a new awareness of all of these things and how they affect, what they affect, all of that comes together in a moment. And I'm hoping it's happened for you. Oh my goodness. It's funny when I start out on these morning talks. Y'all don't know how, I don't know what you get out of it, but it blesses my soul. It blesses my soul. So when I start out on this, I don't even know what what's going to happen. I'm like Little Red Riding Hood on the edge of the forest. And now I got to enter into and to me, sitting down here and pressing go live is me entering into the forest. And sometimes it's going to be, I might find a straight, unencumbered path, but sometimes I might have to go, through the forest and through the woods and trip over some stuff and fall down a cliff and slip and slide because I can't find my book, and then only to kind of recover and find myself. Ooh, when I come out on the other side, find myself all the more better. I don't know if that is your experience, but it is definitely mine. And I appreciate you guys taking this journey with me. It is, for me, whew, it's so good. It's so good. And it's so good when the dawning happens in your mind. Not just witnessing what happened in mine, right? What happened in your mind? What does this bring new to your relationships? What does it bring new to your jobs? What does it bring new to what you thought was a failure or a loss, or when things fall apart? Those things you might sit there and you might think like, what's here for me? What's here for me? What's there for you? That's the question. And it's about bringing those pieces, the pieces of the puzzle that don't seem like they fit. So when you're driving home, right? When you're driving home from work and somebody cuts you off in traffic and you get mad and you have that, that expression of anger that comes up and comes out, and then you get to reflect on it like, wow, wait a minute, why did I go there? I don't know if I told y'all about this in this past year. I had a neighbor, rest her soul, she's gone now, but I had this neighbor who I knew exactly where she worked, and we would often go the same way to work. But she worked, so say for instance, you go down this street, so she worked, and I had to get on the highway. And the highway was just before she got to her job. So say for instance, I'm turning left onto the highway, but a half mile down the street is her job. And so on a particular day, we both set off to work at about the same time. And we're both like jamming because we're both running late. I saw her, but she didn't realize that I was me. She stayed right across. I'd known her just about all of my life. And so we're speeding and we're speeding. And apparently she thought, because she was trying to make the light. And I thought in my mind, if you make that light, I'm going to take that light, right? Because I was right on her tail. You make that light, I'm going to take that light, right? So I'm just jamming, and I'm feeling a feeling of oneness with her, because I knew who she was. I knew her car. I knew where she was going, and we were both on the same race. But man, I don't know what it was. I turned and she took the light. I took the light, right? And so instead of, I'm explaining this to y'all because I kind of want y'all to understand the dynamic of this. When she went through the light, I had to like almost be on her tail coming around there because the light had changed now. And so you make it, I'm going to take it. And I'm right on her tail. And I come up in on the left side of her car. But she needed to now also get over into the left lane because she needed to go straight and I needed to go on the highway. Man, she thought I had blocked her path to getting over. And she started cursing me out. She was cursing me out. She called me all kind of names and all of this other stuff. And she was so angry. She was so angry. And so I was like thinking, oh, she don't even know it's me. And so I'm just like, I get on the side of her and I'm like, I don't know that I'm trying to say I'm sorry, but I was waving at her in her, in her car. I'm like, good morning, I'm sorry kind of thing, she done called me every name in the book. Y'all talk about reading somebody's obituary. She was cursing me out. And then I guess because I was insistent and I beeped the horn at her, and she was, you know how you don't want to look at the person in the car next to you when you're mad at them because of road rage and something might happen. And then finally she was like, she turned with this look on her face like, and she turned and she saw me, and all of a sudden her hand went up like, oh my God. This is Sandy. This is somebody I watched grow up. She done call me all kind of stuff, and then realizes that it's me. And so sometimes when we're caught in this situation, we're triggered because this is a stranger and we feel okay. But now, all of a sudden, when she recognized that I wasn't a stranger, that I was somebody that she knew, and she then needs to reflect, wow, wait a minute, what am I doing? We each can think about the ways in which we respond to things in those instances. We get caught in our unaware, in our unconscious. We get caught, and we get to review, what have I done? What am I doing? Who am I being in this instant? Is it consistent with who I say that I am? And so when she had this moment, then okay, now going from this point forward, how do I conduct myself? If I don't want to have that same level of embarrassment and conviction that I had in that instance, how do I then change up who I am? And so one of the things that I'm constantly reminded of is that I don't get a pass. If this is what I say, who I say I am, and what I'm doing, because I put myself out there in that regard, I don't get a pass on this. But yesterday I failed. Yesterday I didn't show up in the way that I thought I should. I didn't do, and it's only through hindsight that I'm reflecting on this, because yesterday I was just spinning. I was spinning. And so now I get to think about, whoa, wait a minute. What is it that I say that I believe? Who is it that I say that I am? And how do I then walk consistently in that journey? Not shying away from it, not backing down, not thinking that that's not for me, but how do I show up as who I say I am in that regard? And that is a question for all of us. How do I show up? Not because the judgment is coming from out there. Not because somebody might have seen me walking away. Not because of I might have been talking to a friend. Not because of anything other than, who do I say I am? Jesus asked that question. Who do you say I am? It's not about the other people. Who do I say I am? And what does that look like when I stand up in that truth? Y'all, that's a word for me today. I didn't even mean to go there. Ooh, but that is what blessed me today. So I hope and trust that it blessed you as well. I'm wishing you and knowing for you that you are going to have an amazing hump day. I thank you as we pray for that child. I think his name is Pierre. We pray for him and his entire family on this dark journey that they are in the woods going through the splat right now. I'm sending them highest vibrations. I may have tripped yesterday. Whew. But today, I'm thankful for that journey. I'm thankful for the lesson that it showed me. All right, y'all. So go and have an amazing day. And I will be here tomorrow in the 8 o'clock hour. And tomorrow is Thursday, so I get to talk to Dr. Brown. I send blessings to you. And thank you for being here. Please, if you got anything out of this, like, comment, subscribe, right? Like, comment, and subscribe. especially if you are on YouTube. On YouTube, I'm at Sandra Bishop. So, yes, blessings to you. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. God willing, and the creek don't rise. I said I was going to not say that creek don't rise part anymore, but there it is. So, thank you for being here. Subscribe.